Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dear members of Folketing. I think it's good. I think it's like really historical row, like starting with the incumbents, with the legacy operators, then with the real newcomers, as NTV-Italo, and then we formed into ALLRAIL, and ALLRAIL is a non-profit Brussels-based association, an alliance of passenger rail new entrants in Europe, and we represent both independent ticket vendors and railway operators. It's an honor to be here. I will present you today ALLRAIL's vision of passenger long-distance travels, including night trains, and the key role of competition. And by the way, I came by train. I came from Prague, so I'm really proving that I do what I believe in. And even though it really took the whole day, but when you are able to work, it's worth traveling by train still. I'm not against planes, but it's a good way. Today, I'm going to present to you benefits of competition, introduce best practices of competition in the passenger rail, but also I will show to you obstacles, but also how to overcome them, and actions to be taken to accomplish the objectives of truly a renaissance of night trains. I'm going to explain to you why any guaranteed attractive solution that, however, limits any other operator and any other competition won't bring you the desired results, especially in the long term. So this is again about ALLRAIL. As I said, our members started operation during last decade, some even before the decade as NTV-Italo. So I'm sometimes joking that NTV shouldn't be part of ALLRAIL because they are too old. But yes, I think they have still very much a spirit of newcomers, and unfortunately also they share the same obstacles as we do. We as ALLRAIL, we believe in efficient and climate-friendly transport that competes effectively as an alternative to airlines and road travel during the night. Our members share the belief that faster market opening is the only way to help Europe achieve its very ambitious climate change targets as set down in the European Green Deal. We also believe, and I think it was mentioned a couple times previously, especially by Carl Adam, that passenger-driven approach is the key. It's the only way how to gain more passengers on board, especially in the long term, and making the buzzword of modal shift to rail real. I would like to show what we believe in on an example of Italo. Our high-speed Italian member, they started operations in 2012, and they almost immediately show the positive effects of competition. They came up with attractive services and with lower prices, and it helped them to gain passengers, but it also helped the incumbent Trenitalia to start with better services, with better results, with more affordable prices. And most importantly, moreover, its passenger volume shifted from national flights to rail. So this is the real shift to rail, but it can only be achieved by competition. We have similar examples from members from Germany, from Austria, from the Czech Republic or Sweden. And you can see now the train of our operators. They have different trains. They have different approach, different products, but they all have their business cases based on a belief in competition and in fair principles of competition. Modal shift to rail can only work if it's based on competition. Our members also offer EU cross-border operations already. They were not on the slide of night trains, even though they also do night trains. So I guess it was just the legacy operators' night services. And so they also do night services between Czech Republic and Poland. And now they started, they are planning NTV services, but also they started, and I will talk about it more in detail, RegioJet started in the COVID crisis, 5 countries, night connection between Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, Hungary, and Croatia. Customer-oriented services, this is the basic benefits of market opening. So customer-oriented services, that's the first thing that comes with competition. And we believe this should be the European state's rail task number one. That's to create the environment where competition is possible and providing customer-oriented services are essential. More connections do not automatically mean more people on board. Even better trains do not automatically mean more people on train. Simply introducing more trains is not an automatic cure for climate change. It has to be as a package, passenger-driven and passenger-friendly. Reduced fares, that's the other positive outcome of competition. And it's not just that the prices are more attractive, more affordable, but you can easily find them, you can easily book them, and you can easily buy them. This is all what came up with competition, that it's now online, that it's not so much treasure hunt, but it still remains a treasure hunt, especially, and I will talk about it later, when you don't have the and you are not forced as the operator to share your ticketing data. So then it's still treasure hunt to find tickets, and then you can end up in a plane because it's sometimes too complicated. But this is something that competition helped a lot. So you can find tickets more easily, but there is still a long way to go. Higher demand and modal shift is what we discussed a little bit previously. As I said, introducing new trains itself, it's not sustainable. Only when you introduce new trains and they are empty, it's not sustainable. You have to have people on board. So that's I think, really important thing to have in mind. Higher rail sector revenue profit. That's my really favorite argument, that we are not fighting as the operators for a certain volume in the market, but the market grows. When the competition came, the market grows, the passenger volume grow. So the market is even bigger, and we are all gaining more if the competition is existing on the market. New jobs. That was my favorite argument when we were discussing the 4-railway package in Brussels in 2015, 2016. And social dumping was quite a common myth, that if you open up a market for competition, people might lose jobs. It's absolutely the other way around. Everywhere where competition started, we saw that there were new jobs emerging, and also it's a great incentive for employment in general. So between the cities, in regions, etc. So it's for jobs. It's not about social dumping. It's the other way around. Greater efficiency and innovation. With competition, reliable Wi-Fi became the new normal, or in some lines, it has been slowly becoming the new normal. Operators launched commercial viable cross-border night trains after legacy incumbents operators pull out of these trains, also of these tracks. RegioJet, I will talk about it later, is one of these examples. They started Prague, Rijeka, Czech Republic, Croatia night train operations after Czech Railways stayed on incumbent a couple of years ago, ended up the service because it wasn't profitable. There is no common European copy-paste recipe how to launch a successful service. For example, in Italy, they even have conference room because they found their business passengers. Some services are more low cost because they found out it's more like low cost. It should be more low cost service and attract more passengers. We believe that only commercial approach can lead to meaningful services and higher demand. And I think, like, even most importantly, it came with a dramatic effect. More private investment, less burden on the taxpayer. That's, I think, really important to have in mind that public investment, both with financial and non-financial instruments, should incentivize current and further private investment. Any public approach, public investment that excludes, limit or excludes any other option, any other competition is wrong. It won't take us anywhere. State state policy cannot lead to squeezing out competition, because squeezing out competition means squeezing out private money, and it means even more public money that will have to be more tax-based money that will have to be pumped into the railway budget. So then, if the private operators, if they will leave from the market, then also private investment will leave, because there will be no hope for change. But I hope that's not the case. I hope it's getting better. Passenger-oriented services lead to more sensitive pricing policy, greater demand, and eventually to modal shift. I think it's a win-win-win model, actually. So I hope now you are all on the side of competition. If not, I have my last argument, starting with a lesson from history. And these are community guidelines, European community guidelines on state aid for railway undertaking from 2008. And it says in the introduction, rail transport in Europe steadily declined from 1916 to the end of 20th century. Both the passenger traffic volumes have fallen in relative terms compared with the other transport modes. The relative decline in Europe's railway industry is largely due to the way supply has been organized, essentially on national and monopolistic lines. In the absence of competition on the national network, railway undertakings had no incentive to reduce their operating costs and develop new services. It's in the legislation, so it's true. So it's like the television. So we have really great stories and really great examples from the markets that competition started. But despite these positive stories, the last decade has been very difficult for newcomers, especially due to anti-competitive behavior from the state-owned incumbents, but also as a result of unlawful state aid. But then in this still difficult period, in the spring, COVID-19 came and coronavirus and anti-COVID-19 measures came, which really froze the whole transportation sector, including passenger rail, and it really hit hard, especially commercial services. So we ended up either with reducing number of trains, or our members were operating ghost trains where no one was on board. But this is not just for our operators, it was for all operators in general. What differs is who will then pay for it and if. And despite being in such situation, some of our members, and in Europe, three members, RegioJet, Snartaget, and Alpensild Nacht Express, which is not our member yet. And they announced new night connections. Carl Adam Holberg mentioned Snartaget's connection, so I will briefly talk about RegioJet. RegioJet in June announced their connection between Czech Republic to Croatia, via Slovakia, Slovenia, Hungary, and to Croatia. They also added coastline feeder buses. So if you arrive to Croatia, then you could took a bus. That's the first thing that I like about it, that they didn't just thought about it as like a train to Rijeka, but really the whole multimodal solution. And there is more things that I like about RegioJet connection, and it's not about promoting RegioJet. It's more about how to show to you how a private operator think. There was no state plan that there should be a connection between Prague and Rijeka, but they saw the opportunity, they saw the market, and so they started to think about the service and how the service should look like. Then they thought about the passenger and what is a passenger need. So it wasn't we will do a great train to Rijeka, but they thought about who is the person who will go there. So they knew it will be a family who didn't want to go there by car. They knew it will be people that didn't want to travel by plane. They knew there is a great group of especially women, mothers and and grandmothers who didn't want to drive with their kids to Croatia. So, and then this is how they tailor the wall service. It's not something that a member state can think about, and I don't think it's member state. It's a member state mission. The member state mission is to create an environment where such design thinking is possible. And also, it was on the train, on the route, as I said previously, where Czech Railways, the state-owned incumbent, previously pulled out because they didn't have enough traffic, enough passengers. But maybe it needed a different approach. And what I also like about the example is that the competition means openness to collaborate. So it's no longer about the incumbent's old boys club, but also about collaboration with the others. So RegioJet collaborated with the Croatian, Slovenian railways, also with Hungarian company. So they also find a way, but it shouldn't be closed club.
And your time is just...
Okay. So I will very briefly go through 5 steps to be taken. International train, if we are thinking about international train, it should be open access by default. And if there is a PSO, the PSO has to be justified. With international train, with launching it legally, it's difficult because then who should be the competent authority? Shouldn't it be like joint competent authority where all competent authorities think about it and they award it as one service? Because then it's part of PSO and other add-on is open access. How would you justify it? How then would you create a level playing field for other members? So if there is a PSO, it has to be based on analysis. It can't be based on someone's wish, on someone's vision, or a speculative bid. There has to be an analysis that the route is not commercially viable, and then should be a PSO. But then strict rules should follow as we have it in the European legislation. Fair access to infrastructure has to be guaranteed. There's one thing I don't want to go in detail, but there's one thing that is called economic equilibrium test. And it's the institute that was launched to protect current PSO. So if you have a PSO and there is someone else who would like to start operations on the same route, they have to notify, they have to announce it, and then it will be analyzed if it doesn't harm the economic equilibrium of the current operator. Sometimes the PSOs are set even to block new services, and there is no PSO, no economic equilibrium test for the current PSO. So everything has to be really justified. Low track access charges, I will skip it because I think it was discussed previously. Low track access charges should be on a competitive level, on the level of direct cost. Equal access to rolling stock was mentioned as well. We should all have the same access to rolling stock, the new with state-owned guarantees, but also to second-hand. Final, and we covered it already, is equal access to sales channels and through ticketing. Ticketing is really the key to attract more passengers, and the current situation of officially open but still very close ticketing distribution system is a silent killer of competition. So my key takeaway is that public investment, both financial and non-financial, should accelerate current and further private investment, not to limit them and exclude them. Member states should focus on reducing obstacles and creating great environment for more competition, not presenting their business cases. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward for discussion.